Welcome back. My name is Dak, and in this video we are reading the Boy Scout Handbook 11th edition. We are on chapter 12, Citizenship. This is a part of the book that I really like. I'm all about citizenship. I'm very patriotic. This is stuff that really spoke to me as a young man, resonated with me, made me want to be a better citizen. I approve of this message. So let's dig into it. Citizenship. This was a good country in the past. It is a good country today. It will be a good country tomorrow unless we fail it. Daniel Carter Beard, 1st Boy Scout BSA National Commissioner. Hardly a man is left alive. Being part of a community means taking an active role in making it a good place for everyone. I feel like this message is so lost today that this is a good country. I agree. I think it's a good country. Ours is a nation bursting with possibilities. The United States of America embraces over 3.5 million square miles, from Arctic tundra to tropical wetlands, from sun-baked desert to old-growth forest, and from crowded cities to great prairies, farmlands, and mountain ranges stretching as far as the eye can see. We Americans are as diverse as the land upon which we live. We can trace our heritage to every part of the globe, a rich and varied resource that has enabled us to create a society capable of tremendous achievement. When we work together, we possess the energy, optimism, and ability to accomplish almost anything we set out to do. America is made up of all of us. It has become a strong nation because of the efforts of every person living upon its soil. Ours is a good country, and it will continue to be in the future, but only if we do not fail it. That is where you have a vital role to play. How our nation came to be. The United States of America was born out of a desire for freedom. The colonists who settled much of the eastern coast of North America were ruled by a British government that increasingly limited rights the colonists believed they should have. For example, Americans had to let British soldiers stay in their homes. They were required to obey British laws and pay British taxes, even though they had no legal way to make changes when they felt those laws and taxes were unfair. The colonists decided they would be better off if they governed themselves. They declared their independence from Great Britain on July 4th, 1776, but the British did not want the colonies to slip out of their control. Armies arrived to put down the rebellion, and the Revolutionary War dragged on for 5 bitter years. Many lives were lost before a treaty signed in 1781 signaled the end of the war and the recognition of the United States as an independent nation. Representatives of the 13 states gathered to write the United States Constitution, the blueprint to build a government for the new nation. Even in the 1700s, there were too many people to meet together every time a law had to be made. The Constitution solved that problem by making ours a representative democracy, in which citizens vote for officials who then represent them in the government. A country governed in this way is called a republic. The Declaration of Independence helped set the course for America as a nation of its own. The authors of the Constitution could not have imagined the world we live in more than 200 years later, but in their wisdom they designed a government flexible enough to meet the needs of a nation that would continue to grow and change. During the last 2 centuries, the strength of the Constitution has been tested many times. One of the most difficult issues for the young nation was the question of slavery. When the Constitution was written, many people believed slaves did not have the same rights as free Americans. Many others believed just as strongly that slavery was wrong and that the Constitution should treat everyone equally, regardless of their race. The struggle became so profound that in 1861, the states that were supporting slavery and the rights of states to determine their own laws tried to break away and form a separate country. Citizens of the other states fought against them in order to hold the nation together, and when the Civil War ended, America was still united. Constitutional liberties had been extended to all people regardless of race, but those bloody years of war will always be a dark reminder that our freedoms have a high price. Throughout our history, hundreds of thousands of Americans have paid that price by sacrificing their lives to defend the Constitution and the principles it embraces. Your rights as an American. Do you like to get together with your friends, read all sorts of books and newspapers, live in a home no one could enter unless invited? Those are rights that cannot be taken from you. You have the right to believe in any religion you want. You enjoy freedom of speech and can travel freely. Your rights, guaranteed by the Constitution and amendments, including the Bill of Rights, are shared by all Americans. It doesn't matter where we live, how much money we have, the color of our skin, whether we are male or female, or what we think. We are all equal under the law. Rarely in human history have the rights of every person been so respected. what our nation asks of you. America is your land. Its laws protect your right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. By supporting the Constitution, you help preserve these rights. Defend the same rights for others, even when you do not agree with the ways in which they exercise them. Oh, that's beautiful. I love that. Defend the same rights of others, even when you do not agree with the ways in which they exercise them. Oh, that's the heart of America right there. Written by our representatives, the laws of our community, states, and nation govern much of what we do every day. You can help your government respond to the needs of the people by learning about laws, obeying them, and seeking to improve them through constitutional processes if you disagree with them. America relies on its citizens to keep it safe. The men and women of the armed forces stand ready to defend the nation against threats from beyond our borders. But ignorance, prejudice, and apathy are enemies of our country too. Do your part to defeat those threats by taking advantage of educational opportunities. Stand up for the rights of others. Play an active role in making your neighborhood, country, or parish, state, and nation good places in which to live. Your responsibility as a citizen. A strong America can exist only if its citizens are informed. You can begin by studying our nation's history and understanding how our government works. When you are old enough, it will be your right and your duty to learn about issues and candidates for public office and then to vote at election time. Our country needs dedicated teachers, engineers, scientists, writers, bus drivers, farmers, and merchants. The nation counts on capable coaches, pilots, soldiers, and computer programmers. It depends upon people committed to protecting the environment, caring for the sick, sheltering the homeless, and helping others in need. America especially needs young people like you who are doing something good with your lives. You are the future of the country, but you can contribute to the health of the nation right now. When you do your best in school, keep yourself fit, and are of service to your family and community, you are strengthening the fabric of America. Know our nation's motto, "In God We Trust." In 1861, the Secretary of the Treasury wrote a letter to the Director of the United States Mint. No nation can be strong except in the strength of God, or safe except in His defense, the letter said. The trust of our people in God should be declared on our national coins. A vote of Congress made the Secretary's suggestion law, and the motto, "In God We Trust," began to appear on various coins. Since 1955, the motto has been stamped on every coin produced by the U.S. Mint. Knowing America's past. America's history is full of people acting with dedication, dignity, and heroism. Some of America's best-known people are remembered for their leadership, others for their educational skills, their writings, or their inventions. Some serve their country by sacrificing their lives. While each of these people represents the achievements of one individual, he or she also shows how the lives of all Americans are important to our nation. Most of America's greats, though pioneers, parents, youth group leaders, teachers, community volunteers, and millions of others have made their contributions quietly. They shared their knowledge with others, offered a helping hand to those in need, and strove to keep their communities on the right course. Through their deeds, they have changed our country and the world. The history of the United States is also full of significant places and monuments, each with stories to tell. You might have visited some of the most famous, the White House, perhaps, or Gettysburg Battlefield, the USS Arizona Monument at Pearl Harbor, or Yellowstone National Park. Your town is sure to have locations that are important to its past. Reading about American history and visiting museums, historical sites, and library exhibits can increase your understanding and appreciation of your nation and your place in it. Know our nation's flag. The flag of the United States represents the men and women who built America. It reminds us of the Native Americans who inhabited the continent for thousands of years, of pilgrims finding a place to worship God in their own way, of pioneers building homes in a new land, of George Washington leading a young nation, of Abraham Lincoln holding that nation together, of Martin Luther King's dream of justice and equality for all, and of people of all races and beliefs who have fought and died for our country. Respect the flag and the ideals it represents by always handling, displaying, folding, and saluting it in the right way. For more on greeting and displaying the flag, see pages 42 through 44. The first official flag of the United States of America was created by a resolution of the Continental Congress in 1777. Know the Pledge of Allegiance. The Pledge of Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Written in 1776, the Declaration of Independence set in motion the creation of the United States of America. Boy Scouts have always stood ready to serve the nation, helping out in their communities, doing their best in school, learning about current events, and standing up for what is right are all ways that today's Scouts strengthen America. Know our national anthem. During the War of 1812, a British fleet attacked U.S. Fort McHenry near Baltimore. A young man named Francis Scott Key watched as the bombardment lasted through the night. He did not know if the American fortress would withstand the assault. When the smoke cleared the next morning, Key saw a United States flag, the Star-Spangled Banner, still flying over the fort. He wrote down the feelings he'd had during the night and the hope he felt for his nation's future. Soon the words were being sung throughout the country. What Francis Scott Key had written became our national anthem. Whenever you hear our national anthem played or sung, show your respect by standing up. Give the Scout salute if you are in uniform. Otherwise, place your right hand over your heart. The Star-Spangled Banner. Oh, say, can you see, by the dawn's early light, what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say, does that star-spangled banner still wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave? Oh, beautiful words. Know your state. Each of the 50 states shares America's national history. Each is also proud of its unique origins, development, and character. Emblems and mottos on the flag symbolize much of the state's past. A state flag, song, bird, motto, and flower further identify each state. A state's name often reflects its historic roots, and its capital city has special significance to its residents. Do a little research to learn the emblems of your state and write them in the following blanks. What do they tell you about your home? My state's name, my state's capital city, my state's motto, my state's flower, my state's bird, title of my state's song, and my state flag. All right, I'm going to go back for a second. I want to talk about something maybe a little controversial. Several years ago, Colin Kaepernick of the 49ers, the NFL team, he would, first he sat and then he kneeled during the national anthem. I want to go back a couple pages. A lot of discussion was had. I mean, obviously, we're told here, show respect, you should stand. It's like, right here, whenever you're national anthem playing a song, show your respect by standing up. That's respectful. But something else we're asked to do. By supporting the Constitution, you help preserve these rights. Defend the same rights for others, even when you do not agree with the ways in which they exercise them. Now, if an individual disagrees with Colin Kaepernick kneeling during the national flag, feel free to disagree. It's not something that you have to go along with. At the same time, he had the right to do so. Even when someone disagrees with that, we have to defend their rights. That is what being an American is. That's what having freedom of choice is all about. Not compelling, not forcing someone to do something, but defending their right even when they choose something differently. Anyways, just wanted to share that. Know your community. Many American towns and cities are hundreds of years old. They might have been founded near rivers and harbors where ships could dock, or they might have been built along the trails and railroad lines that crossed the continent long ago. Other communities are much younger, growing up at the edges of cities and established close to sites of industry, agriculture, or tourism. Most libraries have information about local history. There might be museums or monuments honoring historical events. People who have lived in your neighborhood for a long time are often eager to share their memories of what your community was like in years gone by. You might enjoy discovering why your hometown is located where it is, who started it, and how it has changed over the decades. Neighborhood maps. You can learn a great deal about your city or town by looking at a street map available from your local Chamber of Commerce, City Hall, library, or a tourist information center. Pinpoint your neighborhood on the map. Find nearby schools, stores, churches, synagogues, and parks. Spot the locations of your troop meeting and homes of others in your scout patrol. Trace the routes you travel. Get to know your neighborhood well enough to give useful directions to visitors who need help finding their way. By developing a sense of place about your community, you can always increase your own sense of belonging. I feel like Google Maps has completely replaced this now. I don't feel like people ask for directions any further. They just get on their phone and they Google it. Know your neighbors. Neighbors are the people who live in houses near yours, on farms down the road, or in apartments in your building. You see them working and playing in their yards, going to the store, coming home in the evening. Take time to introduce yourself. Explain that you are a neighbor and a scout and that you would be pleased to learn a little about them. When you know your neighbors, you will find yourself surrounded by the most exciting of all community resources. Every one of them has stories to tell and skills to teach. As you get acquainted and share with your neighbors what you know, you will be reminded that a community is more than just a collection of buildings. It is the unified strength of people sharing with one another. There are some special neighbors you won't want to overlook. Senior citizens. Older Americans are important members of any community. They can draw on many decades of experience to help solve local problems. If they are retired, they often have more time to devote to their neighborhood. Because their children and grandchildren might live far away, senior citizens appreciate the friendship of neighbors, especially of young people like you. Persons with disabilities. Each of us must overcome challenges in our lives. Perhaps you or another scout in your troop gets around with crutches or a wheelchair. A few of your neighbors might experience impaired hearing or a loss of sight. Some people must adjust to developmental disabilities as well. We all wish we could have perfect health and awareness. However, illness and accidents can leave people of any age with impairments and disabilities. Someone in your family might have faced physical or mental limitations since birth. While they might have special ways of overcoming certain conditions, people with disabilities are full members of our communities. They often have much to offer. Be sensitive to their needs, but then look beyond their limitations and get to know them as the people they really are. Ethnic groups. Everyone has an ethnic background. For Native Americans, that means being part of the tribes that lived in North America before European explorers arrived. The ethnic groups of everyone else lie outside the borders of the United States. Your parents, grandparents, or other ancestors might have come from Africa, Asia, Europe, South America, or another area of the world. Perhaps your family arrived in America hundreds of years ago. Maybe you've lived in the United States just a few months. Americans try hard to make our nation a place where people of all backgrounds and races can live and succeed together. At the same time, we take great pride in our ethnic roots. Ethnic songs, clothing, languages, foods, and religious beliefs help each of us identify with our past. Ethnic festivals and holidays encourage us to celebrate our own heritage and enjoy those of our neighbors. Watch for posters in store windows telling of local celebrations and festivals, and read the newspapers for announcements of ethnic events. You can have a good time learning about other cultures. By accepting the differences among us, you will realize the wonderful variety and strength that different ethnic groups bring to a community. What a community gives you. Do you cheer for a sports team in your town? Are you pleased when your school band marches in a parade? Are you proud of the troop number on the sleeve of your scout shirt? That's because you know you belong. You are part of that team, that school, and that troop. You probably feel the same way about your community. You're glad to say, I am from that place. You can take pride in your neighborhood, and rightly so. It is your home. It gives you an identity. It provides the support, safety, and services you need. Support. At a court of honor, you've known the warmth of having your friends and family watch you receive a new badge. If you play on a sports team, you understand how good it feels to have local fans cheer you on. When you do your best in school, your neighbors might give you a pat on the back. People in a community support each other through the bad times as well as the good. Perhaps you have known a family whose home was damaged by fire. Right away, neighbors brought them food, blankets, clothing, and furniture. Some might have pitched in to repair the smoky rooms, and they might have raised money to help the family get started again. That's what a community can do. Safety. People who care about their neighbors and the places where they live want to keep their community safe. You can help in many ways: shoveling snow from sidewalks, sweeping glass out of the street, reporting a downed stop sign or a broken streetlight. With your knowledge of first aid, you are always ready to assist injured persons. You can also support the police, fire departments, and rescue squads that handle more serious safety matters. They are part of your community too. Services. If there are no communities and your family lived by itself, you would need to find your own food and water every day. At night, you could burn a candle or a lantern, but there would probably be no other light. If you became sick, you would have to heal yourself. Thanks to communities, though, clean drinking water is as close as the nearest faucet. Lights come on at the flip of a switch, and if someone in your family becomes injured or ill, help is available at clinics and hospitals. Fresh water, electrical power, medical attention, and dozens of other services exist because people in a community work together. By sharing the labor and the cost, you and your neighbors provide yourselves and your community with the necessities of life. You might want to plan a patrol or troop outing to visit a fire department, police station, sewage treatment plant, utility company, or other community service. Call in advance to set up the visit. Officials are often eager to show you around and let you see your community services at work. That's really true. I've been to fire stations and police stations. Those are really fun as a scout trip to go visit. Really get an inside look at stuff that you wouldn't normally see. Highly recommend. Learn how your community is run. A big city usually has a large full-time government. Officials in a smaller town might be men and women who serve part-time, often without pay. In either case, a city council and a mayor, city manager, or tribal leader are elected by the people of the community to look after local affairs. City council meetings are usually open to the public. The same is true of country, state, and federal sessions of elected bodies. By watching meetings, you can see how decisions affecting the public are made. That's one of the ways you and other citizens can determine whether or not officials are making the choices you want them to make. Talk with your scoutmaster about taking the troop to see a government meeting. You can also visit directly with many local leaders. Write or call their offices for an appointment. Public officials are busy, but they enjoy talking with the people they represent. Before you go, write down the questions you would like to have them answer. Perhaps you are interested in how a mayor does his or her job. Maybe you have seen a problem in your neighborhood that you feel a city council member should know about, and you want to suggest a solution. By answering your questions now and by being supportive of your interests, leaders are helping to ensure a better community tomorrow. Volunteer organizations. A mayor or city council member will tell you that government cannot provide every service a community needs. That's where volunteer organizations step in, groups whose members donate their time and energy to get things done. A good example is the parent-teacher organization your parents or guardian might belong to at your school. They aren't paid to go to the meetings, and they aren't forced to pay their membership dues. However, they know that teachers and parents working together can make your school a better place in which to learn. Your scout troop couldn't exist without volunteers. Volunteers organize and run it. They find funding to pay for tents and cooking gear. On their own time, scout leaders receive training, hold troop meetings, and go with you on campouts. Many churches, temples, synagogues, and mosques also help with community needs. So do volunteer fundraising organizations such as the United Way. Neighborhood block watch and Crime Stopper groups do much to increase the safety of homes and businesses. In some towns, even the fire department and rescue squads are made up of people who have other jobs but are ready at a moment's notice to go to someone's assistance. You can be a volunteer too. Perhaps you can help an organization at your school that informs students about the dangers of drug abuse and drunk driving, or you and your friends might spend one Saturday each month completing a service project such as collecting food and used clothing for homeless people. Yeah, that's another good example. A neighborhood watch, I don't feel like those are things anymore. I feel like neighborhood watches, after George Foreman and Trayvon Martin, those type of things have just become so much less relevant now. In my growing up, the 90s, early 2000s, heard about those all the time. Now I don't feel like there's as much a thing. I don't hear about them anymore. Other community resources. Every time you run across a playground, visit a museum or a zoo, or read a book in a library, you are using community resources. The same is true of the hiking trails, beaches, sports fields, and picnic areas you enjoy in your city parks. Of course, a library without readers has no purpose. A zoo without visitors won't stay open long. A concert hall lacking an audience is doomed to close. You can keep your community resources full of life by using them. Yeah, I'm all about use, don't abuse. Just go in, spend some time, do those things, but don't take advantage of it. World community. Seen from the moon, Earth looks like a glowing blue marble floating in the blackness of space. From that distance, the differences between people and between nations would appear to be very small. We think of people in other lands differently when we view them as neighbors. Instead of being fearful of them, we learn that many people beyond our borders are contributing to the good of the world community. We also begin to understand their hopes and concerns. We see examples of international cooperation whenever drought, flood, earthquake, or famine threaten some part of the globe. Nations that are able to do so send food, supplies, and medical aid to people in trouble. Many problems we face today are so great they cannot be solved by one nation. The list is long. Air pollution, AIDS, the destruction of rainforests, the endangerment of whales and other species, and the threat posed by nuclear weapons are just a few. But these challenges are not hopeless. They all have solutions. In fact, you might someday hold some of the answers. You can begin by learning about people around the world. Then be willing throughout your life to make the earth a better place, not just for yourself or just for Americans, but for everyone. That is what you as a good neighbor can do. That is what truly builds a community, a nation, and a peaceful world. Reaching out to meet people who are different from you can lead to understanding and friendship. Held every 4 years, World Jamborees bring together scouts of many nations for fellowship and fun. And that's it for this chapter. We're now going to be heading into chapter 13 and talking about personal development, being prepared for life. Hope you liked this video. Be sure to click and like and subscribe if you want to see more content like this. Feel free to comment below what you think about citizenship in your community, the nation, and in the world. What are the controversial issues? Do we get it right back then? Are things different now than they were back in the day? Feel free to comment below, and we'll see you next time. All right, thanks. Bye.